Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are doing a video talking about Ghosts from the Past 2 and just its overall potential. We're honestly getting kind of close to it. After it's getting its date pushed back a little bit, we're almost exactly 2 months away from it dropping, and we have potentially about 125 cards that could get revealed here. So yeah, there's just so much that could come out of this set. I do think there's some really good potential here, and today we're just going to be talking about some of that stuff. So just for a little backstory, every time I've mentioned Ghosts from the Past from last year or this year's Ghosts from the Past, I get nothing but comments in my comment section talking about how garbage last year's set was going to be and also how garbage this year's is going to be. But I already think the set is off to a better start, and we only have 8 of the cards revealed relative to how last year's was. So we're going to go into this. We're going to break down last year's Ghosts from the Past stuff, what was good, what was not, and also just like the kind of the skeleton of how the set was broken down to maybe look at what we might be getting here in this year's Ghosts from the Past and how it might be better, worse, whatever, and go from there. So long story short, we got to look at what we already have for our Ghosts from the Past 2 this year. Comes out in exactly like 2 months, May 6th for North America, May 5th for all the other TCG countries. But yeah, looking at the stuff we have all of the Ghost Rares revealed, being Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician Girl, Cyber Dragon, Dark Arm Dragon, and Red Dragon Archfiend. I would have to guess that Red Dragon Archfiend's probably the least desirable one out of those, but you'll take a Ghost Rare nonetheless. Obviously Blue Eyes, DMG, Cyber Dragon, and Dad are all going to be big bomb money cards if you can pull them. No problems there. I mean, honestly, because we have Red Dragon Archfiend here. You could argue that's like right along par with like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon kind of thing, you know, so whatever. Then for the actual 3 new cards we have revealed, the first one is Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, or this is, I think, Zenith. Yeah, I think it's Zenith. Is like the other name it had in the OCG, but on translation it comes out as this. It's actually a really good card for Crystal Beasts. I've learned this once I've looked at some of the play lines. It actually is really nice for them, but this card alone doesn't do anything. We need that structure to be really good. But this is a really cool that we're already getting this pretty soon, and we'll have this by the time we get the Crystal Beast cards to the TCG, which is really cool. Next up is Decode Talker Heat Soul. This is the one card I'm already looking at, and I'm just going, damn, that's sick. This is a card that pretty much every single Cyber deck is going to have to keep an eye on. This card's crazy. It's a quick effect, pay 1,000, draw a card. No matter what Cyber deck can make this, on your turn, make it, pay 1,000, draw, leave it on the field, draw a card on your opponent's turn. It is just a straight up +2 at least, and it has, obviously, if you can keep it on the field and protect it, it then can be even more than that. So really cool. Obviously, if you are a Code Talker player, Salamangreat player, Adignister player, like, keep an eye on this card, because this card will help every Cyber deck pretty much that's running around. And then we also get Boral and Dragon. Cool card. Link 5 has some decent payoff. Seems a little bit more tailored to Rockets specifically, so I don't know if it's really quite worth, but it is a decently powerful card for what you're paying for it. But I don't know how much play it'll actually see, but it is still cool to see that it's getting imported here. So there you go. That's all we have revealed. Just for a little bit of reference, last year's Ghosts from the Past set was 132 cards. That is a really big set count. And we've only got 8 cards revealed. So we get up to 124 more cards revealed probably. And so yeah, let's just get into this thing. So breaking down last year's Ghosts from the Past into particular sections, let's just start off with the new cards, because the first part of the set is just kind of random support cards for archetypes that ended up in an OCG product last year, and this is just the set that they thought made sense to import all those things. So getting into some of that stuff, you've got the Vampire Voivode, Laval Archer, Lavalval Salamander, a couple of Hieratic Seal cards, Creation and Overlord, Shadal Genius, and Hell Shadal Hollow. Pretty cool Shadal cards, but mainly better in like pure variants, not really splashable in like the competitive like IDS versions. Nekraz's a Raid Bearer, really cool card for them, but he does take a lot of investment to use. So, and obviously we haven't seen a ton of Nekraz as of late. A couple of Fairy Tale cards. They're interesting, but Fairy Tale just still doesn't even feel like a real archetype yet. Galaxy Ice Cypher X Dragon, I know, a cool like overlayable Exceed monster for that package. 2 new Time Thief cards, Adjuster and Double Barrel. Double Barrel doesn't really do anything for them, but Adjuster is an interesting extender. But I think the problem with this card is it had 2 effects. You could only use 1 per turn, and if it could use both in the same turn, it would have been really good, but it's only okay. There. So that's, I think, all of the new support cards. Let me make sure. Oh, there's a couple other things down here I guess I should mention as well. Shooting Star Dragon TGEX. Cool synchro monster, but nothing like too crazy. And then Red Supernova Dragon. That's it for all the new like just random support cards. And listen, there's some cool stuff here, and especially competitively speaking, like the only things that even make you like kind of twitch your eye is like the Shadal monsters. They're not bad, they're actually decent. The Time Thief stuff, because it does still feel like Time Thieves were a couple of really good support cards away from like just taking off as like, you know what I mean, kind of like a Lunalight, kind of just Exceed Turbo, and I know they had synergy in the past, but that kind of level. And then I guess you could say like a Reed Bear, because Nekroz does have a lot of good pieces, it just isn't fully there as an archetype right now. But nothing really took off, right? Like, long story short, the sport was cool, nothing really took off meta-wise, nothing even really took off super like rogue-wise, but whatever. So like, kind of for me, I thought the sport was cool. If you're a particular fan of any of these archetypes, you were like, cool, but like, it's not really making my deck all that crazy. I mean, maybe you're playing one Genius or one Hollow if you're playing a pure Shadal Trap variant, but that's probably it. There. So honestly, I'd like to see support here, but maybe just a little more support that like actually makes something like not rogue or takes them like fully to the next level. It just didn't feel like a lot of these cards really took their archetypes to the next level, which is always what you want, right? That's the whole point of support, is to like help decks compete in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! And these didn't really do the best job of that. Next up, we'll talk about, I guess, the only other wave of like support and not new archetypes, which is the Dragoonity stuff. And a lot of people were upset about this. I know this for a fact. The OCG got a Dragoonity structure deck, and we did not. And so they just ended up importing them in here. A lot of these cards ended up being really expensive because they were imported in here, and they weren't as easy to pull. Obviously, it's just paying for 3 structure decks, and it pissed a lot of people off. And I actually am expecting the same thing to happen this year with something else. Then we get to the new archetypes. The new archetypes include Sun Avalon and Starry Knights. Listen, we don't need to pretend. Starry Knight is just, you know, vanilla, less cool, less powerful. Even for today's standards, Satellar Knights, like Satellar Knights are just still better than Starry Knights, and they look cooler. These cards look kind of cool though. They just suck balls. Like that's just the end of that. And then Sun Avalon. I think this is one of the best parts of the set, was the fact that Sun Avalon were actually a pretty cool archetype. Now, they did need to wait for Sowing to actually have a 1-card combo and actually feel like a full-on like relevant strategy. Not relevant necessarily in the metagame, but relevant in the sense that like you could beat meta decks with this deck. This deck is actually no joke. And so that's really cool. And I will take that. I just want a deck that can be rogue at least, and this really came through for me there. And I have something comparable that we'll talk about for this at least. I don't know about Starry Knights, we'll see about that. And then we get to the reprints. I mean, there's not so much, like, obviously there's only 45 new cards in the set, so obviously that means there's like 85 reprints. There was some cool stuff in here. A lot of this stuff was just either rarity upgrades or reprints for a lot of the archetypes that were already supported in the set, which was still cool because there were some cool things. You saw some Cosmo cards that needed reprinting, like Cosmojo, Tin Can, Dark Lady, stuff like that. We also saw Emergency Teleport, definitely needed to be reprinted. Well, we'll hold him off for a second. Buster Dragon, definitely a card that was like getting up there for a while. Pudding Cess, it's only 1 or 2 printings were like getting up there for sure. Heavenly Spheres had never had a reprint before this, so that was getting up there. And then stuff like Tribute Lania. So there was a handful of like archetypal stuff that you were like, oh sweet, that's some cool stuff. The one thing I did feel like was sorely lacking was like an actual good number of like meta reprints, and maybe that's our complaint with any set, like all the time, and like any side set is like, more meta reprints, make the meta more affordable. But there was only really a couple things, like E-Tele going, like ending up in here, but this was before. Did we have I think we might have had E-Tele at 2 by this point, but even if not, like, it's still weird. Like, we got to 3 later, so this ended up being nice, but like, we had another reprint since this anyway, so whatever. So the only real, like, banging reprint as far as meta stuff goes is evenly matched, and this card is still hit or miss for some people, as far as being a good side deck card. So I felt like there could have been at least 1 or 2 more of those higher level, higher tier meta cards that definitely need reprints that could have ended up in here. And it's kind of a shame that we didn't see that. So hopefully for this year, we'll see a little bit more there. So now that we've looked at all the Ghosts from the Past stuff, let's go back to Ghosts from the Past 2. So covering everything there, like I said, as far as the weird little things of support, I just hope there's like good support for like just a little bit better support. Like honestly, that stuff just didn't feel as impactful as it could have. Secondly, for the Dragoonity thing, I think the comp there is we were just going to end up getting the Agent structure deck into this set. It's kind of a bummer. I know for me personally, like I'm very interested in the Agent stuff. I think it's really cool. I wasn't that interested in Dragoony, so I didn't even care that much. I'm going to have to pick up the Agent stuff. It's going to be a little more expensive, but at least we're getting it. So it is what it is. I don't think it makes the set worse. It makes it just a bummer that Konami decided to import it this way. And then as far as new archetypes go, those are 2 brand new archetypes, like kind of out of nowhere, right? We got Sun Avalon revealed, ended up being pretty good. I know for a fact that everybody's favorite archetype from Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains that hasn't been made into an archetype yet is the Armatos Legios deck. It's like a, I guess it's a Cybers deck, but they're kind of like Roman soldiers, and depending on the way that they are set up link-wise and who's pointing at who, it's kind of like different battle formations, and so they gain different benefits depending on how they're co-linked and stuff. That would be really, really cool, especially if they do it right and they actually make it like a competent strategy. That could be something really, really cool, and it's like by far and away the most desired archetype from Vrains that hasn't been made into a real TCG deck yet. So that would be the coolest thing ever. There's a couple other archetypes too. Hydra Drive, Storm Riders, Drones, Golem. I don't know, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 others. I just can't think of off the top of my head. But Armatos Legio would be by far and away the most important one there. As far as the second archetype goes, I have no idea. Starry Nights kind of came out of nowhere. So we'll see. I'm sure there'll be something just random. I just hope it's a little better. Like, let's be honest. You could have argued there's a battle between Warrock and Starry Nights for like what the worst archetype we've had released in the last 5 years has been. Honestly, I know Warrock's just got a ton of support down the line, which helped, but Starry Nights, like, it does like one thing. It gets like 1 pop a turn, maybe. And it's not even that great at grinding. So, like, I just, hopefully if we get another archetype, it's a little bit better than them. Just something a little bit better than that and cool. Like, that's all I'm hoping for there. And then as far as reprints go, I thought as far as archetypal reprints go, they did a good job. There was a lot of stuff that I was like, dang, Metal Foes are like almost fully hollow now. That's really cool. Time Thieves were like almost all commons. They became like almost a full hollow archetype. So some really cool like rarity upgrades, as well as like the cards I showed you that lowered prices for some random archetype cards that should not have been that expensive. Really cool there. Just maybe 1 or 2 other high impact like meta reprints. You know what I mean? Maybe we get an prosperity reprint a little bit early. Maybe we get another droplet reprint. I don't know. Like, listen, we have Megatons for this year. We have to have room for stuff there, but just maybe a little something else. I don't know. Just maybe 1 other card, 2 other cards that feel really good and nice to see reprints for. That's all I'm really looking for. Maybe it's a Baron de Fleur reprint. I don't care. Something. But yeah, that's pretty much everything there. I do think this set already looks much better. Even if you just look at archetypal support, Decode Talker, Heat Soul, and Rain, like this card is like huge for Crystal Beast, and this card is huge for like all Cybers decks. If you look at all of the new support from all of Ghosts from the Past 1, there were not a single card comparable to either of those for their individual archetypes, in my opinion. So that's really, really sweet, and that's already a better start than we were at. Hopefully they just keep it going. We'll see where the rest of this goes. We've got, 80 reprints to be revealed and like 40 to 45 more new cards probably to get revealed. So obviously I'll bring you that when those drop. But I do think the potential for this set is already much higher than last set, especially if Armatos Legio ends up in here. I think the agents might be more desirable for players generally than the Dragoony stuff. I guess you could argue Dragoony did have some splash ability in other Dragon decks, so that kind of helped it. But I do think as a whole, maybe agents will be more popular than Dragoonity. I don't know. Maybe it's just my circle. But yeah, really cool stuff. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you want to see as far as some of this stuff? Like what ends up in here? What kind of archetype? Is there anything else from Link Vrains you'd want other than Armatos Legio? There's a lot of space in here, and we're going to get a lot of it revealed very, very soon. So stay tuned, obviously. Let me know your thoughts for what you want to see for the set. And honestly, I do think this set just has the potential to be like arguably more hype than a core set, depending on how this goes. So I'm out. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you in the next video, and peace.